The quantum foam dissipated around the meridian's edge as it dropped from slipspace into the Kepler 442 system. Commander Elsa Vornholt stood on the bridge, her augmented eyes processing the tactical display faster than any unmodified human could comprehend. 7 cycles of training, 3 years of combat experience against the Zalthun Collective, and she still felt her heart rate spike when entering contested space. Gravitational anomalies detected, her navigator announced. Multiple signatures, not Zalthun. Elsa's jaw tightened. The intelligence briefing had been clear. Retrieve the research team from Station Orpheus before the Collective's fleet arrived. Simple extraction, but nothing was ever simple on humanity's frontier worlds. "David, what am I looking at?" she called to her science officer. David Chen hunched over his holographic display, fingers dancing through layers of data. The young xenobiologist had joined her crew only 6 months ago, fresh from the Ganymede Institute, but his analytical mind had already saved them twice. His face paled as the scans resolved. "Commander, those aren't ships. They're organic, massive bioforms, each one approximately 800 meters in length, and they're converging on Orpheus Station." The Deathworld designation suddenly made terrible sense. Kepler 442b had been flagged for extreme biohazards, but the lithium deposits were too valuable to ignore. The mining colony had been established despite the risks, despite the things that moved in the planet's crimson jungles. "How long until the Zalthun arrive?" Elsa demanded. 47 minutes, her tactical officer responded. 47 minutes to descend through an atmosphere thick with spore clouds, navigate whatever nightmares the planet had spawned, extract 32 scientists, and escape before a superior enemy force glassed the entire system. The odds calculations running through her neural implant weren't encouraging. "All hands combat stations, atmospheric entry in 5 minutes." The Meridian's edge shuddered as it hit the upper atmosphere. Red lightning arced across the viewport, and Elsa watched the biosignatures grow larger on her display. The creatures were rising from the jungle canopy, their bodies defying conventional physics, wings that shouldn't generate lift, propulsion systems that registered as biological fusion reactors. "They're evolved for space combat," David whispered, all mixing with horror in his voice. "Commander, these organisms developed in a gravity well twice Earth's standard. Their cellular structure can withstand pressures that would crush our hull, and those energy signatures, they're generating antimatter in specialized organs." "Weapons hot," Elsa ordered, her voice cold and steady. "If anything gets within firing range, burn it." The first creature struck before her crew could respond. It moved like a living missile, accelerating through the atmosphere at velocities that should have ignited its flesh. The Edge's point defense cannons opened up, filling the sky with plasma fire. The creature's hide absorbed the first volley, bioluminescent patterns flaring across its surface as it converted the energy. "Railguns," Elsa barked, "kinetic strikes only." Tungsten penetrators screamed from the Edge's lateral batteries. The creature twisted mid-flight, impossible grace for something so massive, but 3 rounds found their mark. Ichor exploded into the atmosphere as the bioform tumbled toward the jungle below. "2 more closing fast," Tactical reported. "And Commander, the station is going dark." Elsa's display showed Orpheus Station 300 kilometers ahead, its lights flickering and dying. Through the external cameras she saw them, dozens of smaller organisms, each one the size of a drop shuttle, swarming over the station's exterior. They were breaching the hull. David's hands moved frantically across his console. "I'm picking up a distress signal, audio only. It's Dr. Ramirez from the xenobiology team." "Put it through." The speaker crackled with static, then a woman's terrified voice filled the bridge. "Inside the labs, they're learning. God help us, they're adapting to our." The transmission dissolved into screams and the wet sounds of tearing metal. "31 minutes to Zalthun arrival," someone reported quietly. Elsa made the calculation instantly. They couldn't save everyone. Maybe they couldn't save anyone. The smart play was to retreat, report the threat, let the collective and these bioweapons destroy each other. Humanity would lose the system, but they'd gain data on a potential ally or at least a useful deterrent. But Elsa had grown up on Proxima Centauri b during the Isolation Wars. She'd watched supply ships refuse to land while people starved because the risk assessment deemed it strategically unsound. She'd sworn she would never make that same calculation. "David, I need a weakness, something we can exploit." The scientist's fingers flew across his display, processing decades of evolutionary biology in seconds. Their nervous systems. They're using a quantum entanglement network for coordination, but it's vulnerable to electromagnetic disruption. If we can generate a powerful enough pulse. "The station's fusion reactor," Elsa interrupted. "We overload it, create an EMP burst that'll scramble their communications. And vaporize everyone inside the station," David finished quietly. "Not if we extract them first. Tactical, target those organisms on the station's hull. I want a path cleared to docking port 7. Helm, get us there. Maximum burn." The Meridian's edge dove toward the station like a falling star. The bioforms converged, recognizing the threat. Elsa's crew fought with the precision of veterans, each shot calculated for maximum efficiency. They couldn't kill them all, but they didn't need to. They just needed 18 minutes. The docking clamps engaged with a shudder. Elsa was already moving, magboots carrying her through the corridors at a run. David followed, his scientific curiosity warring with very rational terror. They found the survivors huddled in the central laboratory, 23 scientists and 9 security personnel, surrounded by emergency force fields that were failing minute by minute. "Move everyone to the ship now." As they ran, Elsa saw what the creatures had been doing. The station's computers were corrupted with organic matter, living tissue interfacing with quantum processors. The bioforms weren't just attacking. They were studying, learning, incorporating human technology into their biological framework. The Deathworld had sent its ambassadors, and they were hungry for knowledge. Elsa was the last one back aboard. "Helm, emergency departure. David, overload the reactor." "Commander, the Zalthun fleet just dropped from slipspace. There," the tactical officer's voice caught. "They're firing on everything. The bioforms are engaging them." Through the viewport, Elsa watched the battle unfold. The collective's plasma cannons carved through the sky, but for every bioform they destroyed, 2 more rose from the jungle. The creatures adapted in real time, their hides developing reflective properties, their bodies shifting to minimize cross-sections. The reactor exploded, an electromagnetic pulse washing over the battlefield. The bioforms convulsed, their coordination network disrupted, but it would only last minutes. The Meridian's edge burned for orbit, leaving behind a Deathworld at war with itself and anyone foolish enough to claim it. In the cargo bay, 23 scientists began their reports on humanity's newest nightmare. David found Elsa on the bridge hours later, staring at the receding planet. "They'll adapt," he said quietly. "Eventually, they'll develop immunity to EMP. They'll learn to fight in space, and they'll remember we were here." Elsa nodded slowly. "Then we'd better learn faster, because if they ever leave that world, Commander, the galaxy doesn't stand a chance." The Meridian's edge slipped back into the quantum foam, carrying its cargo of survivors and terrible knowledge into the darkness between stars.